the outset, I would like to thank the Internet Society for having me here. And since morning, it has been quite a learning session at the same time, especially G.V. Ramanjanil Garu's presentation on how IT and agriculture can be put together. So here, today what we see, recently I have been to the capital of Andhra Pradesh and a village which is just 20 kilometers away from the main capital region. And the farmer there is producing better leaves now. The total cost of production that he is expecting should be around 2 lakhs per acre. And the total revenue he's expecting out of that is around 4.5 lakhs. But today what we have seen is the revenue that he got is just 2 lakhs. In fact, he had to, he lost his money. Major reason there is what we just discussed about major lack of information, even lack of knowledge on where the potential market areas would be. So we as organization Swecha, we have been working on building rural digital infrastructure. It has been quite successful in the terms of usage, how people are adopting to it very fast. We are definitely there to work along with you and see how we can build it upon from there. Today, what we see, say 5,000 years back, once agriculture has become a very common knowledge to people, and people started working around it. It created a lot of change in the economy of that time. Again, 400 years back, if you see, once the Industrial Revolution took place, what we saw is a mechanization of all the processes that is happening around us. And today, in 2019, say in the 21st century rather, what we see is automation of all this mechanization that happened 400 years back. And this automation of mechanization, my friends, it's totally around us. It's more or less we are immersed in this automation. What we call as Internet of Things, all the devices around us, almost 20 billion of them, we're totally immersed in it. In this 20 billion devices, only 3 billion of them are just your smartphones or your laptops. The other 17 billion of them are your watches, your smart watches, or your say sensors on your car braking systems. It could be anything else. So the point here is, what is this automation working towards? We are not really bothered about whether this automation is good for people or bad for people. But what we need to really be bothered about is whether this automation is in the hands of the people or in the hands of very few people who would be able to control everything. That's our biggest problem that we should be dealing with. Imagine if this automation is in the hands of very, very few people. I'm sure you would get the point when I say very few people. What happens is, say the same sensor that's there in your car braking system, once you drive the car for 2 to 3 years, the amount of pressure that you'll be putting on the car brake, once that is recorded, and after 3 or 4 years, you're going to buy a new car, a profile on your driving skills is totally made, and the insurance that you'll have to pay for your second car would be much more than what you paid for your first car, because you're totally classified on how what kind of a driver you are. So that's the kind of automation that we might not really want to have. We'd want automation to make our lives easier, make our life more productive rather. And not very surprised. We should also think about how we have been able to do with technology since the mechanization has always been. Say it was in 1969 when man reached moon, and there was a movie that was made around at the time in Hollywood called The Space Odyssey 2001. But the concept of this movie is that by 2001 they were assuming man would be able to reach Mars. Man would be able to reach moon again and again, and there would be bilateral meetings happening between countries in those places. That was what the director envisioned for 2001 when he made a movie in 1969. It's 2019 today, we pretty much know where we are. We did not even go back to moon again. And China is, of course, trying to send a man to moon in the next 4 years now, not even 2020. So the point here is, what happened to technology? What is technology really serving? It is only serving this plutocracy. I mean, $700 billion was what was given to big companies by the US Fed when 2008 crisis happened. But only a $2 billion would cost for us to send a satellite to the Titan moon of Saturn, to drill all the ice capping that is there, go into the water that's there beneath it, and search for life. And imagine the kind of psyche change that would have across the world once we know that there is a life that is sustaining just in our solar system. Forget about other star systems. The point here is, what are we really looking at for technology to serve? We should ensure, as technocrats around here, we should ensure the technology, or today's technology, that is internet, is totally working for people. It cannot work for anybody else. If it is working for anybody else but not people, it is ultimately working against the people. So it is in our hands to build systems to ensure that people are totally inclusive in whatever we are building around here. Internet today is majorly used for purposes such as search, instant messaging, social networking, and building relations around people. So with these 4 platforms, what kind of an internet that we're moving into is, and what kind of a new order that we are part of, is something that we need to check for ourselves. Today, if we are trying to build a huge internet project across the nation, the total spectra is already sold. Your 4G is already sold. Your 5G was almost there. Even if you want to lay down optical fiber cables across the nation, it is an extremely high capital intensive project. You have to be a very, very rich guy to bring out a loan that will help you build all those lines. So whatever can be sold in building an infrastructure, it's already sold. We as people cannot build, we're not really in a great position to build an alternative platform as such. And the other thing that we see is internet today is totally centralized. It is so centralized that everything that we access from very few servers. Let it be very few companies. If we have social networking, we know there are only 1 or 2 companies that are running those huge platforms. We're trying to search something, we're trying to know something new. We are not in a position to know something, but we are in a position to be pushed to know something. Every choice that we make today, we assume that it's our own, but it's not really our own. We are pushed to that decision by constant gaslighting that we are subjected to by the big internet companies. So the point here is, we are today in part of a new global order, which is totally gaslighted, which is totally centralized, and it is totally sold. And how do we build an alternative here is what we have tried to do as a Swecha. Since 2016, we have tried to work on a model around the Freedom Box. Freedom Box is a community server that is actually built by one of the IIIT Hyderabad's alumni, Sunil Mohanadappa, and his friends together. What does this Freedom Box server do is, it will not allow any of this big corporations who have run this, who run the social networking or any such operations, it will not allow for them to access the real data that what we are trying to do. They might get access to some metadata, but individually, who is accessing what is it really doing, that kind of an access, it will be totally screened when this server is put up. And what we want to do is use the same server for a village scenario to build smart communities around it. We have picked a village called as Gangadevapalli, which is 200 kilometers from Hyderabad. Gangadevapalli is very popular since 1983 for its cooperative methods of building things around in the village. In spite of this village being so progressive, there is no BSNL connection in this village. And in fact, by 1997, they had their own antenna-based TV directly relating to their village, but they don't have any BSNL connection. Even the Panchayat office do not have a BSNL connection. So what we wanted to tell them is, in 2016, we went there, we told them that a new community-based internet project can be evolved. They did not really totally understand what we are trying to do, but they were quite confident that we are there to help them. That's all that they wanted to, that's all they could understand. But once we built a system there using the FreedomWalk server, and there was no Wi-Fi antenna also that was available technologically at the time, which could serve more than 25 meters. So we had to do our own R&D on that, plugged out some Binatone, what do you call, router boards, and solder a pigtail to it, and from there working around it. Finally, we could achieve a distance of around 150 meters with high power. So in this village called Gangadevipalli, we put this FreedomWalk server in the panchayat, and around 5 Wi-Fi routers across the village connected to one another. Now Gangadevipalli has access to internet. It also has access to many digital services that FreedomWalks provides. Inside FreedomWalks, we have ensured that we'll be able to put services which would help them talk to each other in the village with voice over internet protocol. They have access to digital libraries. Most of the content that we try to bring there is from Khan Academy or any ECC licensed content for the farmers or for education. We try to put it. In the 2 years, what we have observed is that the teachers in this government school are reorienting their teaching methods according to the content that we have put inside the village. We have even trained the teachers how to use a free software-based distribution of Linux operating system called as the Swecha, which we have developed ourselves. Not the total thing, but bringing together all those Fed projects that are there. So this operating system, we have trained all the teachers. We've told them how do they give their homeworks and all. Once the kid goes back to his home, he accesses the same content that is there available on the digital network that's there in his village, and he starts doing his homework. That's how we are able to slightly make it better in that village as far as education is concerned. Now we are in talks with doctors from NIMS, Nizam Institute of Medical Sciences, where they are trying to reach out to villages and see how telemedicine can be worked out there. The major challenge that we are facing for the telemedicine is that the doctor would directly want to feel the pulse of the patient. But with internet, we're not really able to yet develop communication is pretty much there. But a system, how do we directly read the pulse is something that's not really there. We are looking at an op-savvy method instead of a tech-savvy method, where if we can train the RMPs that are there available there, and the RMP helps the doctor to understand the situation of the patient. So that's another method that we are trying to work out from there for the medicine. And for farmers, as Ramanjan already told, the data that we are giving them, the existing, there are many apps like Napanta or Plantix that has come out of Vigrisat. We've ensured that farmers are accessing these apps regularly, so that they'll be able to tell the people if at all there is any problem for the leaf that they say. They take a picture of that leaf and they upload it, where there are many young farmers who are quite tech savvy. When I say tech savvy, they're able to use their phones and understand what is going around the world. So these people are responding to the requests that are put up by different farmers about what is really happening to their leaf and how they're producing and all. So that kind of a community platform is pretty much pretty much active, and it's happening. Another thing is Napanta, which is again a popular app with more than 1 lakh downloads, which gives continuous access to the data given by the central government, released by the central government. But what we actually want to do is something more than that. We have a very large volunteer base, more than 9,000 of them, and at a very premium level of, a very good level of volunteers, almost 550 of hacktivists, as we call them, who are hackers plus activists. So these people, we have more than 550 of them placed around Telangana and Andhra. We are ready. We can do both op-savvy and tech-savvy methods. For op-savvy, what we want to do is we wanted to go every day in the morning to the nearby market and collect data and send the data to the farmers, where the farmer can take an informed decision about whether to go to harvest that day or not. But these methods are yet to be rectified by people who are good, who understand agriculture much better than us. That is where we are looking at cooperation, partnership with many people. What we have observed from Gangadevipalli and 16 more villages in Telangana and Andhra, where we have done this work, and especially post the articles in Times of India and Enadu magazine, more than 120 villages have now approached us to put this digital infrastructure in these villages, and where the work is in progress now. Maybe in the next 2.5 months, we should be able to finish around 52 villages more with this kind of an infrastructure. what we are very sure, once we are providing internet to the rural areas and digital infrastructure to the villages, it is showing a qualitative difference in their daily life, a qualitative difference in their production. And we are very much hopeful that more targeted app making for their real acute problems will definitely be able to do very good justice for whatever the problems that they are unnecessarily facing today. Should also come out of an assumption that with the recent penetration of GSM-based internet that is happening inside the rural areas, that we should not assume that things are very fine everywhere. People are using internet. Everybody has a smartphone today. These are only good for your those quick videos that you watch on Facebook or on YouTube. But reality is far away from it. Out of 840 million people who are living in rural areas, only 120 million of them access internet properly. What about the rest of the people? And not just 120 million of them, the other problem is that these 120 million of them are those people who go to the urban areas every day for their work. It is more or less, it is only those people who are living in urban areas or connected to urban areas because of their work are the ones who are able to utilize internet, access it, and do it much better. And more importantly, the cost of each village, if we are going through this community Wi-Fi method, is just 50,000 rupees for a normal village which has a population of 6,000 or so. It's one-time investment cost, and you have the village digitized for how much of a time that we have around us. Imagine this cost with 300 crores of rupees that a big company, which is popular for its social media services, has spent over just 1 week for their campaigning about their program about giving internet to the villages. 300 crores on one side and 50,000 rupees per village on the other side. With that cost of 300, with the investment of 300 crores, we'll be able to digitize half the village population, villages that are there in India. That is 300 crores of them. Which is 3 lakhs of villages in India. So that's the kind of technology that we're talking about here. It is pretty much possible to reach all the villages, give good technology to the farmers, and make, or rather, we can definitely build a society which is more just than what is there today. But the point here is right partnerships, right contacts, real knowledge. And of course, Internet Society is again quite popular and has always been supportive about net neutrality, and those solutions which are promoting accessible and net neutral solutions to go into the villages, and also partnership based upon production oriented work, that's volunteer work that's happening around. With these 3 things working together, I'm sure internet into the rural villages can go very fast. And more importantly, the internet that is useful for people. An internet that is given by the big monopoly organizations. The biggest thing that happens here is it is totally used for leisure, but something that is based upon community-oriented model that we are able to build. Internet is majority of the time, even though they get access to the same YouTube channels, which give a lot of entertainment content, people are not really looking into that. People are really using the community-based internet that we are giving to them for the purpose of production, for the purpose of education. Hopefully, we'll be able to enter the healthcare also very soon. But once this community-oriented, community-driven internet is going into people, we see a psyche shift also, which is where internet as a leisure is moving into internet as a center for production. That's what we are hoping to build in future and continue forward. And we are pretty much open for partnerships where if you are ready to educate us on how this whole infrastructure can be utilized for building better agriculture methods, and also opportunities to access to capital, because we have a huge amount of volunteer strength built on the ground. So all that we need is more support and partnerships to take this forward. And once again, thanks a lot for ISOC for having us here. We are very, very eager to work along with you and see something internet that is really working for people possible. 12 years back, when we started working for digital liberty, we thought installing free and open source software on every computer is sufficient for digital liberty, but the monopoly has moved from computers to the networks. So today, until unless we have the networks in the hands of the people, which is made totally by the people, for the people, of the people, we cannot really ensure democracy in the networks. Hoping to build that. Thank you so much.